Hello beer tubers and welcome to yet another Throwback Thursday with me, Peter, the master of hoppets, today joined by
Brett.
Vanomyces and
Tobias, major of macros.
and as you might notice, I'm dressed as a crab or a lobster with a shark on its head, and you're dressed as a hunter. And you're dressed as a tennis player. It's because today would have been Aalborg Carnival. It's a very famous event happening once a year in Aalborg, in our city. It's the biggest kind of carnival in Northern Europe. Street carnival, where everyone walks outside in costumes, drinking and having fun. There's usually about 80 to 90,000 people in the parade partying. But it's canceled because of COVID-19. So we decided to do a carnival share instead. So we dressed up for Aalborg Carnival and started early. We just had a breakfast or brunch. And now we're going to have our first beer. And it's not even 11 yet. Oh, it's 12 o'clock, so it's okay.
We're slow.
We're slow. Usually we'd start at like maybe 8 at someone's place for breakfast. Yeah. And you will have breakfast and drink beer with breakfast. And have a breakfast bitter too.
On Carnival, I have a tradition of the night before, I always place a beer beside my bed. And then when the alarm rings in the morning, first thing.
So we're doing this Throwback Thursday because it's got a bit of a nostalgic thing, the whole carnival, but also the beer we're doing is quite old school. We're checking out Høker Bajer from Hancock. And we're pairing it with what you would have for carnival in the morning for breakfast, a bitter, a shot of Underberg. It's a breakfast bitter. It's kind of like, what do you call it? A digestive? It's similar to something like Fanta Branca.
Yeah.
These herb bitters that are made as a digestive. And it's in Denmark when you have a beer like this and this on the side, you call this a sidevogn, a sidecar. And you'd usually get a sidecar with a bottle of beer like this and then a shot at most small bodegas, which is the Danish term for like a small dive bar. Yeah. Like a slightly shady bar that's really cheap. They've become really popular. They actually just opened back up not too long ago.
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing this all as a little throwback. And the beer we're trying is one of my favorite, I won't say macro because they're not gigantic, but larger brewery Danish beers. This is from Hancock, and this is their Høker Bajer. So Hancock is from Skive, which is in the middle of Jutland, and they were one of the early they're not microbreweries, but regional sized breweries. They've been around for a while. I guess they're similar in size to something like Thisted Bryghus, which is up north from us. They make similar types of beers in terms of lagers. They don't do a porter though. I don't think so. They mostly do lagers, and their big thing is like they only use pure Danish malts. They don't do high gravity brewing to try and differentiate themselves from the big breweries that were around when they were one of the only smaller guys. And they use only Saaz hops for all their beers. And the big thing is they also lager their lagers. It takes at least 45 days to make a bottle of Høker Bajer, which is their Pilsner. They call it their premium Pilsner, I think, or traditional Pilsner. It doesn't say if it's Czech or German, but I'm guessing it's Czech because they talk a lot about Czech Saaz hops on their website. It's made with just pure Danish Pilsner barley malt and hops, and then they add CO2 and antioxidant. They add some ascorbic acid. It's 5%, and I think it's probably also pasteurized because most breweries of regional size do this. And Høker Bajer is actually a term in Danish. A Høker Bajer is one of the many slang terms we have for beer. Høker Bajer specifically is a beer for an industrial worker or a craftsman who buys it from the store. So when a craftsman, like a carpenter, goes to the store, he will get a Høker Bajer. That's what we would call when this specific type of person would get a beer. And we have like Goat Bajer as a walking beer, or a Hækken Bajer, which is a beer you drink with your neighbor.
Bade Bajer.
Bade Bajer. We have many different slang terms for beer. And Bajer is the quintessential Danish term for beer, which is kind of weird because it actually refers to German brewing history. Because it's slang for beer from Bavaria originally. Yeah. That's just evolved into the nationwide thing you call a beer. Because originally Bavarian beer was what was most popular in Denmark back in the 1800s. But it stuck around, so we still call it Bajer. Yeah. So when was the last time you guys had a Høker Bajer?
We had one at
the local dive bar.
Probably right next 4 months ago or something. Yeah.
I actually think this is rather decent for what it is.
I think the last time I had it was after our Christmas calendar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's probably when we had it then.
No, we had it since.
We had it since.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, before the whole COVID-19.
Yeah.
But it pours like a nice color. It's very crystal clear and golden yellow.
Yeah.
It looks like a lager. A little bit of a white head.
Bubbles streaming up.
Yep.
And the head was really beautiful when
Yeah.
you poured it.
Actually, for a bigger brewed beer, it had like that rocky marshmallowy head, which is really nice. It was not just all fizzy, but yeah. Let's check out the aroma on Høker Bajer. I think that smells pretty decent. It actually has hop character.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for me. I think that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy Høker Bajer. If you go to a dive bar, like whenever I go to a dive bar with friends or whatever, and they have Hancock Høker Bajer, it's always the one I get because it's got hop character.
Yeah.
That or maybe a too classic can
Yeah.
also be decent for like this kind of classic style, or Limfjordsporter, of course.
Yeah.
But if you want something not as strong, I usually go for this.
It's very grassy and peppery.
Yeah. It's classic sauce, peppery and grassy.
Yeah.
And herbal.
Yeah, and then like some sweet Pilsner malt. Very light, sweet, crisp Pilsner malt.
Yeah, it's not like sweet as you get with lots of macro pilsners.
And I think this is, again, for a lot of people, a very historic beer and like nostalgic beer, because I think a lot of people has had this as kind of like a premium lager you'd get.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of high school parties and things like that, often it'd be local beer people would sell. So like Tista beers or Hancock beers or whatever. And they're quite famous for doing the big sick or bomber bottles too. But yeah, let's give it a taste, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Throwback Thursday. That's pretty decent Pilsner.
Yeah,
It's actually got a lot of hop character.
Yeah.
It's by no means a mind-blowing Pilsner. No means, but I think it's actually rather enjoyable.
It's one of those beers that you can drink quite a lot of.
Yeah.
Without the.
But it is
throwing
that
your
grassy,
pellets.
peppery thing
It's
that
really-
really lingers from the sauce.
It's it's just a great showcase of sauce hops.
Yeah.
I'd say especially like white pepper.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of white pepper. And it's also a little bit floral, but the big thing is like fresh cut grass and white pepper.
Yeah.
But also there's a little bit of that kind of sweet Pilsner malt, but it's a very light malt forward Pilsner.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
But a bit of the sweetness that is there, if you can say so, is
It's Czech.
yeah.
I think it's more Czech than German because it's not
Yeah.
very bitter. And also it has a more pronounced malt sweetness. It doesn't have like diacetyl, but it has the sweetness I'd associate with
I
Czech
would
Pilsner.
define this as a Czech Pilsner.
Yeah. Just because there is a little bit of bitterness, but the Germans are more snappy and more like dry.
Yeah.
This is a bit sweeter, maybe slightly more creamy, even though it's not a crazy creamy. But I actually think this is really refreshing, and it's quite enjoyable. Again, it's not mind blowing, but
It's a good beer to start with.
It's actually a beer. If you have to have a macro beer or not a larger brewery beer around, this is something I wouldn't mind having.
Yeah.
Just to have on the hot summer day.
I think the only sign of this being a bit of a like slightly cheaper beer is I think the sweetness is a bit I don't know, slightly syrupy. It has like a slightly syrupy
a little
hint.
bit, but I don't think it's too bad.
No, it's very light. But yeah, it's like the only thing that tells me it's like more of a macro-ish. Pilsner.
Even though you can't really call it macro. But,
Yeah, exactly.
But the other tradition, and this is both for Carnival, but also at these bars, is that you have a sidecar. Either Underberg or what's the other cheap one called? Jagdbitter.
Bitter. Oh.
There's like loads of these. Or you have Fanta Branca, Fanta Minta, whatever.
Or Gammeldansk.
Yeah, or Gammeldansk. But we have a thing for Underberg in my family, so Underberg was what I had around. Even though I actually bought this for fun with a friend to use for a festival that we're not going to, but because it's not happening back in. But we're gonna have this. We're gonna go in one go. It's shit to get it out of the bottle, so you have to sit and swirl it a bit in your mouth. But
Yeah.
are you ready for it? It's 44% herbal bitter.
Yeah.
Good morning,
Ancient
Carnival.
herbs.
Good.
Here
It's
I
gonna be
come.
good. In Denmark, we say "gaven til maven," the present for the stomach. Cheers. It's got a kick. Ooh.
Ooh, it's burning all the way way down in my stomach.
Oh, it tastes like
that's
cinnamon and star anise
It's
and
really star anise and
clove and licorice root, and there's like some bitter herb going on in the aftertaste now.
It's like scraping bitter.
Yeah, but Underberg is one of the like strongest, most powerfully flavored of these breakfast bitters. The thing is, in Denmark, it's quite common.
Breakfast snacks.
Yeah, in Denmark, this is a common like weekend breakfast thing for elderly couples.
Yeah.
This or akavit or something. My grandparents, they would have Underberg or Fanabanka or Dr. Nielsen or something like that in the morning in the weekend. They'd have a shot with their breakfast, which is as a digestive, and it's a very historic thing
Just to get the blood flowing.
Yeah, but that's what you'd use it for. Like I think in Italy maybe they'd more use it where it's from, after food for dinner. But in Denmark it's a breakfast thing, or it is when you're at dive bars.
Yeah.
Bodega bars. If you're coming to Denmark and you're going to try all this craft beer stuff, you need to try and also just to go to a local bodega. If you see, they're easy to spot because they're often very shady looking. They have Carlsberg or Royal Export or some kind of macro sign
like,
or these.
Two Pilsner and Høker Bajer.
And you smoke in there and you get beers almost. They never have draft beer really. Almost only bottles. You get a bottle and then the sidecar of this, and then it's the quintessential Danish old school bar experience. Really.
And then there's the clientele of 8 to 12 people who are sitting there most hours during the day.
Yeah, every day, more or less.
Yeah. As for Høker Bajer, I'm gonna go 85. I'm 83, 85. I think it's a rather enjoyable bigger brew pilsner. I think I'd rate it as 3.5 on Untapped. I think it's actually quite well made for what it is for macro beer. As for Underberg, I don't know if I grade that. It was just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 83, 85. I think it's a well made macro-ish pilsner.
I'm gonna go a bit higher because I'm the major of macros and say 87.
I was thinking 83.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very decent Czech style pilsner.
Mm-hmm. Probably one of the better macro pilsners in the country, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. Or macro. Yeah, I keep going macro. It's not technically macro, but it's because the look of the bottle, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And they're bigger than the craft. I guess a regional size brewery.
It tastes much better than your
much better. I mean, if you compare this to a Royal Pilsner, miles ahead this one. Yeah. Because there's no hop extract and fucking malt extract and all this crap.
Skunkiness.
No glucose. A lot of these macro beers in Denmark, the old school ones, are brewed with glucose syrup as well to boost, alcohol production and use less malt. So crazy stuff, but very nice stuff. Very nice. Just a really enjoyable beer. So if you guys had a chance to try Høker Bajer, let us know what you thought of it. It's a must check out for sure if you're in Denmark. I think if you want to check out some Danish beer history. And as always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And we're gonna say cheers in some Høker Bajer and get ready for a nice little carnival share. And see you guys in another Throwback Thursday or beer review. Cheers.